start?
Let's go for it.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll call to order right at 4:30, right on time. And we'll go through, let's see, we want to hear from Dan. So we'll go through, review the agenda and approve it real quick, and then kick to you shortly. Does that work? Cool. All right. We do have one item to add to the agenda for action items, and that would be the election of a new president of the board, because I have resigned my position. So we are moving next month to Indiana, which is where we're originally from. I was named the 9th president at Bethel University in South Bend area in Indiana about 2 weeks ago. So thank you.
That's exciting.
Yes, but lots to do, and if you want to buy a house in Waconia, we've got a beautiful one for you. So let us know. But I will no longer be able to carry on with the library board. So yeah, sadly. This is one of the fun things I get to do, so.
Yes, we're sad to hear that, to learn that, but it sounds like a really amazing opportunity for you and your family, so we wish you all the best.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for your service to this group.
Absolutely.
Yes. Absolutely. We'll be close to home, but I can give you any personal updates on that later or after the meeting if you'd like to ask questions. But yeah, super cool opportunity that sort of just over the last few months came about. So it was cool to see it all come together. So we'll add that one under action items. Anything in the agenda that you see as issues or additions or subtractions, anything like that?
I'm requesting that we postpone the unattended children and vulnerable adult policy, which I just realized is misspelled there, but until next month. We're waiting on the county for some additional guidance on some language that we're recommending. So as soon as we have that, we'll be ready to roll. So if the group is in agreement with that, we'll hold off on that particular policy.
We will still do the data privacy and library records?
Correct.
Cool.
Yep.
Okay. Sounds good. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Approve. Motion made.
Okay, second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, and then approval of the minutes from last meeting. Any?
I've got a couple.
Okay.
I don't want to belabor any of them, but they're very, very quick. But so these are just minor editorial things. But at the top of the first page, Bob Lincoln, Library Systems Administrator or Administrator.
Administrator.
All right. So then towards the bottom of the first page, third bullet under 4.34, recent updates, online library card, registration library card form now provides immediate access library card in the mail. Did you mean to say that that registration for the online library card is now available? It isn't clear to me.
It's meant to indicate that there is a online form to be able to submit an application for a library card.
Okay.
It's that's very like convoluted the way that
So how about if we say it is now possible to register for an online, it is possible to register online for a library card. Can we say that?
Simplification is good with
Okay.
me,
That's
yes.
fine. Yep.
All right.
That for the minutes, Kevin. Okay, perfect.
Second page, under action items 5.1, approved report of what? Report of compiled annually by Blotz. Is this in reference to the 2024 annual state report?
Yes.
Okay. So do we want to take out the word report compiled annually by S. Blotz?
That works.
All
Yep.
right.
Thank you.
Sure. And then the next sentence at the end, future review of the, okay. Then under item 7, administrative report 7.1, budget update, library is on track for regarding spending.
Should be for 2025.
Okay, library is on track for 2025 spending. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Sure, those are the, I hope those are helpful. Those are the things that I picked
All
up.
right.
Absolutely.
Do I have a motion to approve with amendments or additions with an E?
I make a motion to approve.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second?
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. So we are good to go, and we'll kick it over to you, Dan.
All right.
So regale us, won't you?
Well, yeah, thanks for inviting me. And I guess I'll give a little bit of my background. I started here in January. So I'm, about 5 months in now. Born and raised in the southeast corner of South Dakota. If you know where Sioux Falls is, about an hour south of there. So that's kind of where I call home. But I've been up here in the Twin Cities area for 14 years now. So I came up in 2011 with the city of Spring Park, if you know where that's at, on Lake Minnetonka. I was there for about 10 years, 10 or 11. Then I went over to Tonka Bay, still on Lake Minnetonka for the last few. And then I got this opportunity. So I actually applied for this a little over 3 years ago. And I came in second. And then when it came up again, they called me up and asked if I was still interested 3 years later. And I said, absolutely. So that's kind of the backstory.
Sorry for being late.
So yeah, I live in Plymouth with my wife and 2 children, 8 and 5, who are avid readers, and my son is into cryptozoology books right now, if you know kind of what that's about. So like the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot. So he's planning our family vacation to Loch Ness in Scotland. So
love
we
it.
can be the ones to find it. My daughter is, so she's 5. She's going to be going into kindergarten next year, and she likes to follow along in books, and she's very good at predicting what the next words are going to be. So yeah, we're at that stage. But I love this area, and I'm just glad to be a part of, this is kind of my first time being involved in what I call like a real community, where we have a downtown and there are churches and schools, and it's kind of a, like a full service community, whereas before on Lake Minnetonka, they were kind of neighborhoods that I was involved in. I don't think either of them had a school in their city limits or a church, so yeah, it was more just kind of a neighborhood feel. This is where I am excited to be, and if you need anything, I'm here. Glad to help, and certainly look forward to kind of having a good partnership between the city and the library here. And I was just over there today because we're having some cooling issues that we're trying to get figured out, and so hopefully we'll get to the bottom of that. And I think it's a great partnership though.
Maybe some updates on the city of Watertown and what's going on. I drove by some construction on 10 on the way in. Some big heavy machinery and fun things. So
yeah, we've got 2 major infrastructure projects that are going to be wrapping up this year, hopefully. One is the wastewater treatment facility expansion, which is as you're going north to Delano. The other is the water tower as you're coming in from the east. And both of those really are kind of to put the city in a position to be able to expand. I mean, they were both needed, just kind of with some new regulations that are coming down from the state as far as wastewater, but they've expanded our capacity so that we're able to, you know, foreseeably go to 7,500, 8,000 population with kind of what we've got coming online. So yeah, we've got a new development that's just kind of starting up, the Cove, and as you're kind of on your way out to Waconia, and we're kind of looking at some commercial expansion in our industrial park. So yeah, we've kind of got things going on, but we're also getting frequent phone calls from new developers kind of wondering what's going on here in Watertown, and so I think there's a lot of kicking of the proverbial tires going on right now with developers, and everybody's kind of watching interest rates to see what happens. Yeah, so we'll see what happens.
New businesses or fun things that are coming to Watertown, or maybe even like population growth. We talk a lot about that.
Yeah, so we did just cross the 5,000 threshold.
Oh.
So that's kind of a big deal for for a city. Getting a new restaurant, Leonardo's, in the old Mario site.
Nice.
So if you're familiar with Da Vinci's, it's essentially going to be the same. And so that's kind of a big development for Watertown. Other than that though, yeah, I think, like I said, we've got some big kind of more industrial manufacturing jobs that are going into the industrial park. A roofing company, sheet metal fabrication, kind of not your glamorous stuff, but you know, certainly adding jobs and tax capacity to the city. So we'll take it, and that's kind of what that area is, you know, supposed to be for. Yeah, and I'm just kind of keeping my head above water right now as far as trying to get through my first year. I know we've got Rails for Trails. I think we're having our kickoff meeting on that next week. I've never been through that. And yeah, I'm just kind of trying to, so yeah, it was kind of bad timing on my part when I started. Both of our utilities superintendents, one of them actually accepted a job in Waconia and the other one retired, both within like 2 months of when I started. So we've been trying to get those positions filled, and I think we're after next week when our public services superintendent starts, and we will be finally back at full strength. So that's kind of been one of our challenges here in the first 4 or 5 months of my tenure. But other than that, I think the outlook is good. People are positive. I think there's a lot of excitement over, you know, trying to kind of do controlled growth. And we know, you know, we know we're not Delano or Waconia, so we kind of have our own little spot in between, and we're off the beaten path a little bit, which I think if you ask people here, they actually like that about Watertown. And so yeah, I think we'll just kind of see how it goes, and hopefully everything works out. So yeah.
I'm all out of questions. Anybody else have any questions? Or-
So out of curiosity, are there any infrastructure, more so in like, you know, highways and more main thoroughfare coming in here, so that as you get more population growth coming here, there may not be people working in Watertown, there may be people like, you know, working in Waconia having to drive up here. Is there any focus on improving the road?
I would have to probably direct you to the county on that, but I know that there are some plans in the works, either, I think it was originally scheduled for this year, but it's looking like it might be next year for, as you go north out of this roundabout here, to redo that up to the county line. I think there's also a long-term plan of maybe doing kind of a bypass, so that if you're coming like from, you know, the east, you can kind of bypass Watertown and get down to Waconia or Mayor without having to come through the city. But I've only seen that on a plan, and I think it's pretty far out there. But I know those are kind of the road, just North Lewis Avenue is kind of the immediate one that we're focusing on. But I don't really know anything more than that as far as what the county's planning to do. I'll let you know if I
Very
find out.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for coming in and,
Yeah.
and chatting with us, Dan. Appreciate it.
No, my pleasure.
And you said you live in Plymouth?
I do.
That's a hike.
It is. Yeah, I've always had a commute, so for me, I think it was all of 5 minutes more when I came over this way than my previous commute. So it doesn't bother me. I actually like the time to decompress, especially after a long day. It's kind of nice to have a 30.
You don't have to get on 494, do you?
Very briefly.
I was gonna say, that would not be decompressing.
You can always download an audiobook from the
Right,
library.
Yeah, Libby.
We can help you get set up.
Yeah, the beautiful thing is I'm always going the opposite direction of the majority of traffic, so
Sure.
that really helps.
Excellent.
All right. Well, enjoy your board meeting this evening then.
Well, thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah, and good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
It's
Appreciate
nice to
it.
meet you.
Yeah.
And if I can be of service, let me know. And hopefully, we'll cross paths down the road here. And certainly don't be afraid to stop in and let us know if we can do anything to help out the partnership.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll be in touch.
Yeah, you guys have a good meeting.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. We will go next to the public. Do we have any public input?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. Don't be sorry. That's not a bad thing. Yeah. All right. On to action items. Stacy and Charles, just so you're aware, there was one action item added to the list. I'm resigning from the position. Took a job in Indiana.
Oh my goodness.
A presidency.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, couldn't turn it down.
Congratulations. Yeah, yeah.
So, we're gonna need to elect a new president.
We are.
Yeah.
I've done it 3 years, 3 years, so I get to rest.
We don't have to do it today, do we?
I will defer to you.
I don't think we have enough, we don't have everybody here, do we? We do? Okay.
Would we, so we will have to also replace his position with another
Correct.
board member.
Yeah.
And that goes through county administration and the county board approval process.
Right.
Yeah, and the
Yep,
commissioners.
exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of commissioners.
I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I
Good.
really
Did you get,
miscalculated.
did you get
in
stuck
Indiana.
behind a giant dump truck going 45 miles an hour?
Right? I mean, what is, oh my God. I checked how long it would take to get here and it said 20 minutes, but that was like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right, right.
1,300?
It's more like,
It's quite a small.
Yeah, it's small.
Mine said
Private school.
33.
Yep.
oh yeah, well mine
The
said
one who's
38 when I got in the car.
Yeah.
It's bigger.
So, oh yeah,
Hello.
did you get my email?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. All good. All
And
good.
Krista emailed you
Yep.
too.
Yep. All good.
Don't worry. Thank you.
We're gonna go to the first action item, and the policy review for data privacy of library records. we'll do the motion first, then we'll have discussion. A motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right. We'll credit Stacy with that one. She just beat you, and she wanted it more. Discussion, anything here that, this is a very typical review, so it doesn't look like there was anything added.
Correct. We have no recommended edits or changes. The statute language remains the same, so we made sure to check that. The very bottom paragraph is also language directly from American Library Association, and that has not been updated on their end either. So for this type of policy, that's what we would look to for potentially any changes. And we have protocols in place for, staff that relate to this, but obviously that would be not part of the policy level. But I'm happy to address any questions if anybody has any.
Well, to appreciate the context of this policy a little bit more, Jody, really two questions. Has there been any history of this policy needing to be invoked in recent years? And secondly, I'm assuming that if this ever comes up, it could be in the context of law enforcement requesting information, or perhaps a private investigator requesting information in relation to civil litigation, in relation to potential criminal litigation. Is that correct? Is that kind of a significant inspiration for this policy?
Absolutely, like on the more probably, I don't know if I should use the word extreme, but more on the extreme level. I mean, it could be also even, it could be law enforcement just coming in to try to locate, it wouldn't have to be at an investigative level per se, but it could be, but they have to have a subpoena. If staff are approached, then the protocol is to first contact, and looking at Kevin, contact a branch manager, but really it has to come to the director, and then I would work with Nick Kaktabi, the assistant county administrator, and we would work with law enforcement at that point, or attorneys if that's the case, to determine, because we're very protective, that's really the overarching philosophy of public libraries, to protect that of patrons.
Has there ever been a case? Has the system ever had to deal with a case in recent years in any of the libraries, for example?
Not to my knowledge, but again, I'm still fairly new in my role, I would say, to have had that instance.
Sure.
Do you recall anything public, Jim?
Yeah.
I don't remember any cases.
Okay. All right.
The more likely scenario is probably point B, where you're able to give reserved materials to a family member residing at the same address.
Sure.
That's probably more regularly invoked, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Which makes sense,
Right.
so.
Right, so in those protocols
Yeah.
with staff, we do try to check IDs, make sure that, that they are at the same address. There can be instances, say with split families, situations too, where, anyway, I don't probably need to go further into details about it, but, just that where we need to protect that privacy between, different parents or caregivers and whatnot, so.
And also for materials not to be physically moved from the residence on file, right?
Right.
That's why the language about residing with.
Yep.
Yeah, it can't be the aunt you're very, very close with that lives a mile away.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and some of it is protecting that privacy of whichever patron it is, what they're reading. That's all kept as such. So, does that give you a little more context?
That's helpful.
Or help?
Thank you.
Yep.
Any further discussion?
So what exactly, are we simply renewing
Yep.
we're refreshing our approval of the policy. There's no language change of any sort, just refreshing approval. We're just dusting off the cobwebs from our eyes and
Exactly.
make sure we're up
Each
on it.
policy comes around every 3 years,
years.
correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Rotation,
this is
yeah.
the rotation of,
All right.
it's
Of
been
this
3
one.
years since we've looked at it.
And some policies, I don't, how, some policies again point very specifically to here in the case of Minnesota statute language and American Library Association language. There might be others, like even the one that we postponed to next month where our library management would look to you all to say, well, we're able to adapt something a little bit differently, or we've seen a different need that we need to adapt the policy towards.
So the unattended children / vulnerable child, you would expect, are we going to be seeing a revision in some of the descriptions or the
Just in
write-up?
one part, we're trying to determine if there's a child that is left at, say, library close, is it a requirement that 2 staff stay together, or can we use that requirement language based on what the union and what employee relations can provide? So that's essentially the piece in that other policy. That's why we postponed it, because we're waiting to get additional language for that. Did I say that right, Kevin? Because we were chatting about that, so, yep.
All right. I'll call for a vote then. All in favor of the policy as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Should I?
Just kidding.
Now, you've had a chance to think about it, so we've already had one indication of nomination, but do we have any nominations for the, we'll take nominations first, and then we'll go through the process here for president.
Wait, we're doing that today?
We're doing that today.
Oh lordy, it's not on my agenda.
I penciled it in before you got here, so
Oh.
we beat you to it, sorry.
Oh,
So we have a nomination for Stacy.
You have to use your word.
then you have to nominate a new secretary too.
That's true, yeah, that will be,
That'll be the
that
second.
would be your duty to do as potentially
Okay.
acting president, if that's the case. If that's the direction it goes.
The only thing I have to say is that I will need some serious coaching on when I have to call for a vote and when a vote's
ask
not
them,
needed,
yeah.
or we have to discuss this before we vote, so maybe I'll.
Just read Robert's rules,
Bring
you'll
a
get it,
gavel.
it's a piece of
Yeah.
cake.
I have an extra copy.
Stacy.
Easy read.
Stacy, bring a gavel.
Bring a gavel? That's a good idea. And I have my my college graduation robe, I can walk in all like,
I've been asking that for
hello.
2 years.
We're
You
ready.
refuse to give it to me.
This is going to a whole new level tonight.
Yeah, that, you don't have to put that in the
It's tough to
recording.
control this group.
Sneak it out.
Yeah. Good luck, Stacy.
Responsibility of the previous president?
Huh?
Isn't that the responsibility of the previous president?
I didn't get it from my previous president.
That's how it goes, it just keeps following. Yeah.
Yeah, just pointing fingers to the last person, yeah.
Any other nominations, or just the one? Okay.
Said that
fine.
3 times. Any other nominations? Any other nominations?
Okay, we have a nomination for Stacy as president. We'll now go to a vote, straight. So we have a nomination. Now, all in favor of Stacy as president, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, congratulations, Madam
Oh,
President.
thank you. Okay, yes, I got 2 votes. Awesome. That's all good. It's all good.
Cool, all right. Thank you for running last meeting as well. So
Yes.
you kind of got your feet wet. It was a sign of things to come,
I did.
for sure.
And that was a busy meeting.
Sorry about that.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
We actually, I think we went just shy of 6.
I think
Oh,
so too.
wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
A lot of stuff.
Now it's on you to run an efficient,
A
quick
tight
meeting
ship.
and get people
Yes.
to dinner on time, so.
A tight ship.
All right, on to the next piece, MELSA comparables. Jody, I'll kick that to you.
Sure. So there's no action item of this, just really wanted to bring this to your attention. As you can see, this is a report that we've been running for quite some time. And it just, I find it interesting to look at how we compare in terms of our collection spending compared to the other MELSA systems, noting that we are the smallest of the MELSA systems. One thing that I would note, as we look at our total collection expenditures, we wanted to note that 15 to 18% of that amount, which is 626 and some change, 15 to 18% spent out of that goes towards processing the materials, which amounts to roughly, I mean, anywhere from 51,000 to 62,000 for the year, which doesn't go directly to materials, but it's essentially for our vendor to package them all up and catalog them and have kind of all that pre-prepped, ready to go. So that was just an important note. It's more efficient to go that route than actually to what we've noted in the past, to hire additional staff to do that, for our vendor to do that. We do have one in-house cataloger that Kevin supervises, Lisa Gearman, who does a fair amount as well. I don't know if you want to mention anything about what she does. But
So she ends up cataloging all the things that we don't get through a vendor. So things donated or things that were pulled out of book donations because we didn't have it on the shelf. Random things purchased from Amazon, that sort of thing. So she ends up putting those in manually.
Okay.
So it's my understanding that there is in the profession a standard for independent libraries of 12% to attribute to collection expenditures out of budget. Is that correct, Jody? Have you heard of anything like that?
That it's a say that
There's kind of a standard, a national standard of 12% budget going to collection. 12% of expenses attributable to collection expenditures, or 12% of budget going to collection, allocated to collection. Are you familiar with any sort of a benchmark?
Where did you get that number?
I read it.
I mean, I'm not surprised. Of course you read it.
Well, because there is a question of how you impute these costs.
Yeah,
You mentioned
I-
processing, but you know, that's
Right.
just 12,
Yeah.
13 to 15%. I interrupted you, Lisa, I'm sorry.
No, you didn't. I was just curious, because I'm too trying to get my head around these numbers and kind of what they mean, like how to interpret them.
And I wish that Patrick was here because he works so closely with our collection team. And not that I don't know the numbers, it's just he's like the lead on our collection spending. Some of it is tied, this doesn't answer your question about the 12% standard, but some of it is tied to trying to hit certain hold ratios for some of the really popular items, and also looking at, I guess, what it's showing here too, per capita, what we're trying to hit with our communities and our usage. I'd like to get back to you on that, like from our collection team.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
But,
Yep.
You know, I'm curious too.
Okay.
I know that they do occasionally ask other jobbers to find out if we can get a better deal as far as processing goes. So right now, from what I last heard, is that we have a good deal with our vendor, Road Art. And like Jody said, it would cost more to actually do it in-house at this point.
Sure. So what are the other things that go into collection expenditures, collection expenses? You mentioned processing. What are the other items that are typically included?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Shipping,
Well, but Brodart doesn't, our main vendor doesn't charge for shipping.
Okay.
That's essentially all encompassing and
I may have misunderstood you. So you pointed to the collection expenditures, and then you said that 15 to 18% of that goes to processing.
correct.
So my question is, where's the other 85% of collection expenditures? What are the items comprising that?
Oh, anything, I mean, all of our
Books,
materials, books,
audiobooks.
audiobooks.
The actual cost of the
Like
materials is.
cost
So
of
it's
materials
cost of- it's
across
cost
the
of
board. Yep,
materials,
Yep,
okay.
yep, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
That's a
And is
simple
that a
question.
yearly number?
What's
Is that
that?
a yearly number?
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
Okay.
yep.
And then to be sure I understand, processing would be like, let's say you got the newest John Sanford book. Is processing, and I'm using air quotes, like putting that plastic cover on it, getting the barcode and the decimal thing, whatever, getting it into our system, that whole thing,
All of
right?
that.
Like all of that?
Yep.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah, that
okay.
sounds like,
Yep.
and that's a person doing it. It's
right,
not-
no, right, exactly, it's one
So,
person with a
yeah.
stack of books, like,
Right.
okay, this is what I'm doing today, and
covering-
fitting it and covering
yeah.
it and all that, so, okay, cool, interesting. That's
Yeah,
cool
like
that they
one-
can do it for you.
So really the material cost for you all right now, I'm looking at it, it's like 80, material is 80 somewhat percent, and then 12.6. The amount of 12.66 is your processing cost.
Yeah.
Is that right? Am I?
Processing charges were
Were-
15 to
yeah,
18%
of collect-
of that.
So what's this
collection
12.66?
expenditures.
Right.
That is how it's in relation to the total operational budget.
Right.
The
Right.
total, really the total levy budget that we have.
15 to 18% would be of the 626.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's the
Well, the-
cost of the collection plus the personnel cost that would go into that would be part of the levy? Or is there something taken out? What part does MELSA contribute? Do they contribute anything, or is all of this just out of local taxpayer levy?
This would be all,
This is, for collection, it's almost all
Levy.
levy.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I mean, we get a few dollars here and there from grants and through MELSA, but it would be part of like programming. Like, we have an author coming in, so we buy the book that author has published, but it's minuscule compared to the collection budget.
Right,
Sure.
okay.
Yeah, and I don't believe any of the MELSA funding is actually included in this
No.
report.
Okay.
They're strictly looking at like they're pulling right from, or we're pulling right from state library reports.
Got it.
That we reviewed, which strictly is looking at, again, like the levy part of it. Yep.
Yeah, so this is all stuff that people can check out from the library.
Got it, okay.
Yeah.
And then when I look at the portion of the levy that's libraries, that's about 5% of our overall levy-only budget. We have a bigger budget because we have about 60% of our budget is passed through money from either the state or the federal government, mostly the state. And then 40% of that budget is funded by taxpayers, and then of that 40%, 5% is the library. Was that clear as mud?
It's a lot of math. I checked
There's a
out.
lot of math. There's a lot of percentage dollars.
Yeah.
But this is helpful, thank you. You know how many times I love me my spreadsheet of numbers.
And it's, I think it's interesting to kind of look back, as you compare from year to year, how things have shifted or grown, obviously, so.
We're actually in line with years ago in the $5 range. I mean, that goes back to, looks like even 2016, 2017, where it was significantly more expensive. Collection per capita in the 520s. Then it dips, and so it sort of ebbs and flows. And even if you go back to 08, 07, $6 and $7, so.
Because as our community grows, our spending of the collection stays the same. So that brings down the cost.
Well, where I think our county system does pretty well is if you take a look at the circulation level, which is really an indicator of volume of customer demand, because it's number of, if you will, hits, I mean, checkout hits, and undoubtedly there's turnover of the same item. So it's not number of items on the shelves, it's number of items times number of times they turn over. But that's really an indication of customer volume. So if you compare that number to not just the personnel costs, but also the sum of the personnel costs and the collection expenditures, we come out on a per unit basis, on per circulation unit basis, pretty good. In fact, I just for fun did some calculations. If you look at our personnel costs, and this is dividing personnel costs by circulation, so that would be cost per unit, cost per item checked out, you get $2.54. And the lowest is Dakota at $2.14, but then you've got St. Paul at $5.64. Now, St. Paul is an outlier. I don't know what's going on there.
That's strange.
Yeah, very high. But then if you factor...
So talking about library books and things?
I don't think so.
Yeah, they must be ordering, they must have some very high-priced personnel or some extremely expensive items on the shelves. But if you then factor in the collection expenses, the collection expenditures, take that sum and then divide through by circulation, we're at $2.97 per unit in this county, with St. Paul being $6.18. Actually, I'll read you these numbers. Anoka, $2.91. We're at Carver, $2.97. Dakota, $2.57. Hennepin, $3.43. Average cost. Ramsey, $3.03. Scott, $3. Washington, $2.75, and for the whole system, it's $3.35.
Average.
See, I want that.
Average,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, we can trumpet our county system as being pretty cost efficient.
Yeah.
We really can.
St. Paul is just the city.
Right.
So
Oh, not
that's
Anoka,
it's a
yeah.
metro.
Yeah.
It's not Ramsey.
Right, it's not Ramsey County,
Yeah,
it's
not-
only the
yeah.
city of St.
It's
Paul.
only
That
the
makes
city.
Which
sense.
might be
That makes sense.
That could be.
why it's different.
Yeah.
Because the number of, because the head count of people is proportionately lower.
Well, it's a different population than you would have in Carver.
Right.
So that's
Meaning-
why, yeah.
It's a much lower population with probably a significantly larger library and resource.
I mean, no, they have 3 times as many people as we do.
Right.
St. Paul does than our
The city of
entire
St.
county.
Paul then Carver County in total?
Yeah, we have 113 service population, and they have 310.
Oh, I suppose,
sure,
okay.
right.
Yeah, so they have 3
yeah.
times as many
Yeah,
Right.
I was, yep.
people. But yeah, that's why I wondered, Hennepin is 1.2 million, and Ramsey plus St. Paul would be,
Well, they also have 5 times the personnel costs.
Absolutely.
Yes.
correct.
Ish.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
There's some
I
administrative
think
load.
that may also
Oversight,
go into
yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah, for overhead.
Which makes me wonder if the city of St. Paul is paying for those, or is Ramsey, I don't know. Yeah.
It would have to be the
It's
city.
a city of St. Paul.
Yeah. so
It's
they're-
all under it's really the mayor of, it's just.
Oh, it's under him.
Yeah, different model than the other counties. Yep,
There you go.
yep.
But go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go.
There's enough variation in these per unit costs across the state to really start asking some questions about how can there be more parity across, there may need to be some further analysis to look at, what's driving this. Is it productivity differences? Is it particular budgetary quirks? What is it?
Budgetary.
I do not know whether that's a priority kind of question for the entire
Priorities.
state system.
Probably slightly different priorities within each system
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
It's all based upon how much money that Carver County or the city provides to that. And you know, levy authority and all of that. But it would be, I mean, we're growing, so that's why we get to be more efficient.
And we are efficient.
Yeah.
I think Carver's pretty
When
efficient.
when you look at this as collection dollars, is it just physical books or is it digital also?
Digital also.
And that's where I was trying to figure out, like, you know, digital is really hard to assess because it flows between all counties, right? Anybody can pick a book and then it becomes available from a different county, it comes into our site.
That's
We-
confusing though, right? Because I would have to go to Anoka County and register my Carver County library card with Anoka County, right? To be able to use their collection of Libby books.
You would not be able to use their Libby books if they purchased it themselves.
But if they purchased it through
If
MELSA?
it's through MELSA, then it is available to all.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha,
And
okay.
that's why the queue gets weird.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because
But
they're,
both libraries count that as an available book, so it would be duplicated.
if they purchase it for their system only, then the license belongs to the county, so you
Right.
need to be a resident of that county in order
Yeah.
to check it out. MELSA wouldn't get to count that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And if you are on the waiting list or the hold list for a title, it takes me a
Yeah,
minute.
The county
Then if
gets
you're
it first.
the county, yeah, if you are the county that has it come up next, you can jump ahead of somebody
Right,
else.
Right. It's a bit confusing.
that's
They got some weird,
Yeah.
It is a little
they got some
confusing.
weird algorithm there, but yeah.
Yeah.
We need to figure out this system then, yeah.
Yeah.
There's some loopholes here. This is-
Well, the MELSA, like e-resources team and MELSA directors have been having long conversations, or I should say the MELSA collection team as well, long conversations about some of these challenges
Yeah.
with this. They've had, you know, they've had vendor conversations with Overdrive too. Just how can we make this a better experience and how can we continue to meet the needs of, I mean, because it's growing so exponentially. It's just incredible, so.
Jody, does Overdrive own Libby?
Yeah.
Oh, they do, okay. I think some of it is in education. My mom did not know that she should return her audiobooks. And I was like,
Yeah.
well,
Right.
it takes,
It takes it away from
it
you.
takes 20 seconds to hit return loan when you're
No, but
done with it. And
takes
she's like,
it away
yeah,
from you, though.
well, but she said, but you know, it's gonna return on its own. And I was like, right, but you're done reading it. Just click the button. So how I got her excited about it is you get a bouquet of flowers. So now she's excited if you return your loan early, you get a bouquet of flowers that like flashes on your screen, which sounds so silly, but it was like that change in mindset of like, why do I have to push the button? And I'm like, so someone else gets it today and doesn't have to wait another 10 days. Like, how silly.
Longer licensing, yeah.
Yeah, you know, because I'm like, you're just holding on to it for no reason. Anyway, so there we go. Where's Patrick?
And we've talked
Get on-
about that
yeah.
too, like even across all of MELSA system,
Yeah.
like just encouraging staff to have those conversations. To
Totally.
say, oh, did you remember, or do you know that you can click the button?
Exactly, just get it back early. You don't even have to go anywhere. Anyway,
It's all part of those conversations, yep.
Learning.
absolutely.
I wonder
Learn the
if
tool.
you can check where are you on the book. If you're at the end of the book, then say, hey, send an email, say, hey, have you finished the book? Can you please return?
or if the book sits at 100% complete in the app for, let's say, 2 days or 3 days, that it automatically just comes back.
Something
Like
you
if
can
it's
do
sitting at
that.
99%, that the app doesn't grab it, but if it sits at 100%, that would be easy for them to code.
You gotta-
Let me talk to
You
them.
better get
Let me talk to them. They could code that.
App pull back so it
They
can
could
release.
code that, no problem.
Or the library sends an email saying, hey, you're finished the book, we could
Yeah.
use if you return it so they can get someone else.
Take it out of
That
the
would
hands of the
be a
user.
data privacy issue.
Yeah.
I'm thinking,
Yeah.
they say you're stalking them, just like,
Is every book that, because I know on Libby you can, if like there's a huge line, you can still read like maybe 10 pages of a book.
or just to
as
give you
like
the
a-
trial kind of a
Yeah,
thing, right?
and I was noticing on one book I tried to read, there were no copies, there was no line, there was no actual book. So are there books in Libby that the library just doesn't have access to, that you can only get those samples? Because I could read like 7 pages and then there was no
Yeah.
checkout.
Okay.
Right. There's samples that are provided, hoping that you will buy them.
Yeah, go over to a different medium and buy the book.
It's called marketing.
Yeah, yeah, right. And you're like, shoot, they got me.
Then there were also, I think they were calling them ghost books that have like hung on, like Melsa was working through a discard process because there were some that were sitting silent that people would still have holds on that would never, like you wouldn't even get 7 pages of. So that was another piece that they worked through with Overdrive to figure out, well, how do we remove those particular titles and how do we notify those patrons that, so sorry, but you've been sitting on,
Yeah.
on that list for a long time, but we're actually, and it maybe had to do with some going out of print. I can't remember the licensing piece that's tied to it. So there's just, it gets to be a lot of different complex questions with it.
Totally.
Well, that was a great discussion, but I think we're probably ready to move on as well.
Sure.
Yes.
But some good questions and
Yeah.
Very
yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we'll move on to budget update.
Do we vote on that one?
What's that?
Do we need to vote that on that one?
Nope.
No?
Nope, just for
Information.
discussion and information and,
And you've got the next two, so feel free
Okay.
to just keep going.
sure, thank you. I think just addressing a question that came up last month was that very top line item on the budget report of Library Melsa, the 100,000 that is not accounted for yet. That check, I did confirm that check doesn't come to us until October. So if anybody was just wondering, and those are, again, kind of funds that come in as operational funds essentially from Melsa. So that doesn't support any of the programming side of it. That is built on a formula based on population and some other aspects that each system then gets a certain amount each year that we draw upon that goes into our operational funds. So that was just one question that I remembered from last month, had noted. We're a little bit above on our stock budget, our sub-budget. And that's due to some vacancies that we've had between having even just interim period of no branch manager in the western branches, a couple of part-time positions. So we've had to draw upon our sub-budget a little bit more. So it's just something we have to watch closely. Kevin keeps an eagle eye on that for us. But as a management team, we work together. And in some cases, we may have to have, say, a Chanhassen library assistant or a librarian, maybe there's such a need to come out to Watertown and cover a shift. I mean, we certainly can share staff across the whole system to fill gaps. We try not to do that necessarily, but sometimes we do that. But we also have, we do have some really incredible subs, but we do only have so much budget that we can draw upon for that. I don't know if anybody has questions about that or how our sub pool works.
I don't have questions so much about the sub pool or the necessity of it, but is there an opportunity? I know that we've talked about volunteers in the past and that's been kind of challenging because there's a learning curve to bringing in a volunteer and then they move or they become disinterested or whatever, is like if there was a library board member who might be interested in helping in some of those situations, is that
Even a president,
reasonable?
hypothetically.
No, someone wants to fly in from Indiana, they're just gonna visit me. They're like, I feel a need to get back. But I don't know if that's reasonable or unreasonable.
So for anything like at our service desks,
Yeah.
our front-facing desk, because of the union contract.
Oh, right,
we're
I
not
forget about
allowed
that.
to-
Yes,
To
correct.
bring in a volunteer to cover
Got
that.
it. That's right.
Yeah, now, if you want to come in and do shelving.
Yeah.
Or support our librarian doing story time or.
Okay.
There's other opportunities to volunteer.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Sometimes there's even, we've had opportunities even up in processing to help kind of sticker things, and to do like one-time projects like that. So,
Yeah.
Great
That
question.
sounds fun, actually.
Gets a bit
Uh,
serious.
So, part-time is looking like it could be over. I would assume that full-time though, with missing someone for a period of time would be significantly favorable and probably to the positive budgetarily though,
Right.
correct?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So a couple things, part-time staff, if they would like to take on some additional hours, they can go up to 32 hours, but can't go over that. So that's, I should have noted that as well. Occasionally we'll offer to a staff member that's part-time if they are able and would like to take another shift, they can. But again, that all factors into watching those budget lines. Typically, what isn't utilized, say in the, well, either one, full-time or part-time, it would go into the year-end savings at the county. So,
And is the county a little more line by line, or are they more, here's your overall budget? Maybe, Lisa, you may be able to
I don't
answer
know, I'm
that.
learning this as well, but continue on.
Or is it a little more like, here's your big pot of money, stay under this,
Do what you
and then
want,
we'll
yeah.
adjust it from year to year because of how things work?
Jody, what have you seen?
I've seen more of that. That
Okay.
is more kind of bottom line.
Okay.
But I will say, like, with the salaries, that I would say is more, I mean, we can't pull from
Yeah.
regular part-time or full-time staff salaries into our stock budget, just because that's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So that would be an
Yeah.
area that we have to be more mindful of. But other areas, we have, again, it's more that bottom line. Yeah. Yep.
So you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot for the last 2 or 3 months and not have any part-time availability.
Right.
So trying to find places to save that if you can along the way.
Yep, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I kind of honed in on that, but what other budget questions, or did you see anything along the way that I can address?
So at the top of page 3, under the general revenue fund, I noticed that only 2% of revenue has been accounted for as of April 30th. Top of page 3.
Right,
Yeah,
because
that's
that,
100,000
that 100,000 from Melsa.
Okay, that's
Yep.
the
That was the
100,000.
100,000.
Yep, that hasn't
That
come
was
in yet from
100,000,
Melsa.
got
Yep,
it.
yep, great
Got it.
question though.
Thank you,
Yep,
thank you.
absolutely.
I'm not sure if I asked this question previously, but then, I'm going the other way. Instead of 2%, I see 100% on the data processing services. Did I ask that question? Or what was it
Yes,
about?
I think you have asked that in the past, and I think because sometimes it's
It's one of your IT
prepays,
project
like
stuff you can
prepays,
prepay.
yeah, that we've done.
Okay, I thought I asked that before, so I'm like, oh, okay.
But the same for equipment services is 97%. So there must be some sort of prepay in there.
Yep, yeah.
Yeah.
And that could be, I mean, if that's something you're interested in seeing,
No, that's okay.
Bob and I can pull all those more specific reports, really line by line for that.
So those
Yep.
are, and usually you would expense it out for the current fiscal year because it's a 12-month cycle thing, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Some of those contracts are multiple years,
Well,
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, normally you would balance sheet out and then draw down from prepaid. Sorry.
no,
But, yeah,
good questions, absolutely. And I'm still learning too, so.
Usually when you dump it all to expense, it's usually like an annual expense only item that you prepare, you can justifiable from an accounting standpoint, put it straight into expense account. But if it exceeds 12 months, then you normally want to balance sheet it as a prepaid entry, and then you draw down every month until you cross the 12 months cycle. But I'm no longer.
That's accountant talk right there.
Yep.
Well, I think a related question towards the bottom of page 4, where we look at line 500, program totals library administration for the full system. 17% of revenue accounted for as of April 30th. Some of that's the Melsa thing, right?
Mhm.
Because
Yep.
that's, we're 1/3 of the way through the calendar year. We've moved a third through the fiscal year. 29% of expenditures accounted for. Is that kind of a normal percentage that we would have eaten up budget by this time?
I would say so.
Okay.
Yeah, without having, the last few years in front of me, but I would say so.
Okay.
And I just have to look back. I mean, I think we're doing fairly well. I don't have it in front of me here, but in terms of one thing we watch is our collection spending and making sure that we're, keeping on track with all of our selectors, continuously ordering each month, trying to stay on track with that. Some of that gets then depending on how fast our vendor will ship in and how fast we get invoiced for things, so.
Right.
But I think we're doing pretty well,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Do you want to go, if there aren't any other, everything else looks pretty much in line or not crazy.
Yeah,
So, do you want to go to the library
yeah, you can go to my director's report.
director's report?
Absolutely.
Oh, you used the picture with me in it.
Yes, yes, so I definitely want to highlight that.
Very cool.
Well, I'll come back to the top here, but yeah, you'll notice we did some updated staff photos at our all-staff meeting. And Commissioner Anderson is in the photo with us, so that
I
was
photo
great.
bombed. So excited. Then they took some without me too. Just fun.
We hadn't taken photos for several years, and obviously there are some staff that weren't here because of PTO, whatnot, so we couldn't get quite everyone, but this is a good snapshot, and it's nice to have those updated photos. It was really a nice start to our all-staff meeting that day. And we were really fortunate to have the new, well, she's not that new, she's like a year old now, like the new chief communications officer at the county. She and one of her communications team members, Amber, came and took the photos, and really nice to have that connection.
It really is.
As well, so that worked out really nicely. And we had a great all-staff meeting. Thank you, Commissioner Anderson, for your
That was so much fun.
your words and
Yeah.
encouragement to staff. It was great.
Didn't feel very encouraging, so I'm glad that you did, I'm glad you felt it was encouraging.
Yeah,
So-
no, they thought I heard
Good.
great comments about your energy and vibe you brought
Okay, good.
to the group.
Thank you.
So,
That was fun.
cause yeah, some of it was just the uncertainty of the budget moving
Yeah.
forward. Not so much where we are currently, but knowing like what's gonna happen in 2026.
2026, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, so we're looking at anywhere between probably anywhere between an 8 and a 15% increase based upon just the commitments that we have made through our union contracts and the tax shifts that are coming, that are potentially coming from the state. And so double-digit tax increases from the county is probably unacceptable. It is unacceptable. So that means that everywhere else we have to kind of tighten our belt. Is kind of where we're at. So isn't that a fun message? That's why I was a little surprised that, but it was nice being there.
I think
It was-
having your presence there was really appreciated.
Oh, thank you.
And a good connection that we're all part of the county together. And we have the support of the county, and we need to, keep that communication rolling.
Well, in
definitely.
a lot of ways, our library staff is sort of our front office staff from our county. We do all the fun things like send out tax bills and create road construction, and the sheriff's department or prosecute people. But this is more of the front office, the fun stuff. So we're grateful to our library staff.
So it's great. So, aside from that, I included a few other updates. Just want to remind everyone that summer reading program starts up at the beginning of June, which is our biggest, most robust program of the year. But it really takes all staff, speaking of staff, to get that up and running and be successful. And we have our staff have planned an amazing summer. So many great things happening for learning and experiences. So that's coming up. We had the 10th anniversary celebration, which thanks to those of you that were able to join us at the Victoria branch. So that was a really wonderful celebration.
Very lovely.
Really great day. And it was beautiful weather. It was perfect. I talked about the all staff already. Let's see. At Victoria, we announced the launch of extended access hours in September at Victoria, and that's also been pushed out now on the website. And video that staff had me do on social media.
It was great.
But we had I believe our first application come in already for extended access. They're ready. They're super excited.
Heck yeah.
They were like, I can get to my closest library to pick up holds, and so this is great. So so that's all, and we were able to. The county board approved the vendor. Which is Biblioteca for the hardware and software, which you all know. So that's all been approved. The contract was signed as of end of last week. So we're rolling.
Awesome.
Tomorrow we have a meeting to work on the installation of the security cameras and the video management server. I said that backwards. Anyway, lots of things happening in that regard. So. We're working on the Searcy Dynex contract, which was also approved by the county board. I did not note that here. That's our ILS system. We have a few more contract updates to work through negotiations with Searcy, just in terms of some of the language and whatnot. But we're making really good progress, and we're in plenty of time for that. So that's great. I've been working on 2026 budget planning. So some of the bigger pieces that I have put in, one being in the event that E-rate goes away, we don't know at the federal level, that has been plugged in as a request to the county because we just don't know yet. That's tied up in a Supreme Court case, and we'll see where that lands.
How much is that?
That would be $60,000 that we receive through that program on a yearly basis.
And the Supreme Court usually rules by the end of June, right?
Yep,
Their cases are usually,
yeah.
okay.
Yep.
But they were the one
So
that
not quite ready to
hearings
watch,
already
but
did,
yeah.
the hearing?
Oh yeah, I
There's
think
been-
there's
yep.
already been.
So
Yeah.
we're hearing
Hearing.
we're hearing positive remarks out of the hearings, but still all kind of holding our breath about it.
Yeah,
So
right?
yeah. But E-rate impacts schools, libraries.
Hospitals, yeah.
It's a really huge piece. So we did put that in as a contingency, just not knowing where, and this has a long ways to go with the county's budget process, a lot of work sessions and all kinds of things before we get anywhere with that. But I just wanted to bring that to you all because Bob and I had mentioned that last meeting.
Yep.
And then one of the things that we've had our eye on, because our MELSA neighbors several of them have a streaming service that they offer. And there's two main vendors, Hoopla or Canopy. And so they do offer movies streaming, also audiobooks. So it's just another type of great service for customers. Of course, we're seeing the trend for DVDs to eventually go away. So that's part of it.
Bring back the VHS.
Some folks at this table are too young for VHS.
I'm not.
8 tracks.
You are.
You know what that is? I can show you one.
Right.
I
I had one VHS and it was, I think it was Sleeping Beauty. And I watched it so much it like wore out.
I still have all my Disneys in
And the
VHS.
clamshells.
VHS.
I remember the 8 tracks. My grandparents had.
Yeah.
I listened to Del Shannon's Runaway like a million
I
times.
put on
My
8 track. I have never figured out how it
thought
works.
that they were videotapes.
Every time you hit it, the song changes. How does it work?
Yeah.
So nonetheless, streaming service is something on our radar that we would like to see implemented. eventually, but we'll see. Knowing the uncertainty of 2026 budget, it you know, might be a bigger wish than we can see through at the moment, but the.
What does that cost? I mean, just for a frame of reference, what does that look like?
That is about 35,000 a year, depending upon the number of checkouts.
Okay.
It's based on
Probably get
checkout
a
model
limit
per,
or
yeah.
a maximum one.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like downloadable, and you travel just like a book.
Last time I checked, it was just streaming.
Okay. So you need
But
an
that
internet.
might be changing. Yeah.
Cool.
So,
I just have no idea. That's just sometimes just a frame of reference. I'm like, is it $1 million? Is it
Right.
oh, right, no.
Yeah.
10,000?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, you know.
Yeah. So, and then adjacent to that is a digital collection increase. Again, because we're seeing such, not only high usage and increased usage, but also increased costs related to some of the digital materials because of the licensing. So, so those are some of the bigger items that I just wanted to note today. But again, very early stages of the budget process.
So usually we have our preliminary, we're doing something different this year, just with all the uncertainty, you know, kind of going through an extra layer of looking at everything that's non-mandated, I mean, I guess I'm told that we're doing something different, I wouldn't know the difference, but that's what I'm told. And then we'll do also, all of us commissioners have taken an area and we're going through each area, we only 2 at a time, so we're not all looking at them throughout the, probably in the July time frame, and then preliminary budget in September. By then we'll, I mean, we should know what's happening with the state.
Yeah, hopefully.
But we have this $6 million deficit already to start
At the
with.
county?
What?
At the county, or sorry?
Yes. So we're starting out with yeah, $6 million would be the addition just with our employee contracts. So, and I don't know how much that's about 8% to start with. We'll see what happens with the state.
You're talking fiscal year 26.
Correct.
Okay.
Which is also calendar year 26.
Projected.
Yeah,
Projected.
projected, yeah. So, that's where we're at.
Well, and on a high note, we have Apple and Google Pay and credit card now.
Which I love.
So, there you go.
Wow, that was a bang. Way to go. I
That
appreciate
was a
the
bang.
exclamation point.
We've been waiting a long time. We've
Yeah.
waited 3 years for these new upgraded machines from our vendor, so this is a win
This
for us.
is big, yeah.
It's always so interesting because you walk into a place and you'll be like, oh, I still have to insert my chip, or I still have to, every now and then you get a swiper and you're like, I don't even remember how to do this. You know,
We get
'cause
so
I'm used
many
to
people-
tapping
You're never
or
good at
something.
it.
They're like, I don't have a credit card, I just have my phone.
Right.
Right.
How can I give you money? You're like, we should figure this out.
Yeah.
Because we want your money. Thank you. Yeah. Cool. We do have the, do we want to
I
hear
have,
Kevin's report? or-
yeah, I have three points from Patrick on his.
Oh, great, okay,
Oh, go Patrick.
He's big on the 3 points.
okay.
So, Chanhassen Book Sale set a record with over $4,000 in sales.
Wow.
Awesome.
So that's fantastic.
Wow.
Collaboration with Chanhassen Communities of Belonging resulted in an open mic program for aspiring writers.
That's cool.
Which is very exciting. And then just successful arts and crafts programs at both Chanhassen and Victoria. And I think he's got great photos to illustrate all of the above.
Squirrel art that was out there, yeah.
Oh yes, you gotta, and the squirrel art is phenomenal.
And the Pokemons. Yeah.
Well, the Bluey.
Yeah, really.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, I just have a couple things. First of all, the big picture on there is from the START program with District 112. they did all of our seed library, basically. They counted out the seeds or measured out the seeds, put them into the little envelopes and labeled them. So we are so thankful for them and all the work that they do with those kids in that program. On the back of mine, towards the bottom, Juan Llerena led a 3-week workshop on entrepreneurship, but it was dedicated to Spanish speakers. It was a full program. It was 3 weeks. We also did some concurrent programming for story times and for activities, so that if the whole family wanted to come down and spend the evening in the library, we had something for everybody.
How many people participated in that?
It was 15 people.
Nice.
So it was full, and we had a wait list, yeah.
Wow. 15 people or 15 families?
It was, it was 15 individual people. They did not all bring their families.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Good.
Yes. We had
Love it.
we had a couple kids on each of the session who came to that. Yeah.
Love that.
And then we thankfully got a new shelf that was in storage that we could bring in, and added some additional space for teen books, which we had run out of space for those for that genre in particular. And in moving things around, it kind of created a little loungy area for people, and the kids no longer feel like we're hovering over them.
That's too bad. That's always a good experience.
That doesn't reduce the need for a larger library there?
It does not.
No.
No, we still are in dire need of a new library.
Talk to the city. I'm kidding. Okay.
We do that too.
That's it for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Only thing I see here.
So you finally have the digital media thing,
Yes, the digital
2 years in the making.
media conversion project is up and running at the moment. Yep. So it's taken a couple of years to get there. Yep, we did it. They did it. Kevin and Serena did it, I guess. So if you're interested, stop out at Waconia, or I think connect with Serena.
So how long are you gonna keep it at one location? Was it gonna be rotating when I first looked at it?
That was one of the original concepts of it. That was Paul's kind of baby.
Right.
And when he left, we decided just
So leave
to
in
keep
Waconia?
it at Waconia,
Okay.
just because of the logistics of the whole thing, yeah.
Okay. I could see Chen Hassan also probably wanting to use that.
There'd be a lot of.
Yeah, there's been mention of that, yeah.
Yeah.
You might have to get 2 of those. I'm anticipating there's going to be excess demand for that. People are going to be lining up. Yes, take a number.
Exactly. There's a need for that, for sure.
Only thing I'm seeing that we normally discuss
yeah.
would be the library foundation.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Are we ready for that?
well, we've gone through
Yep.
folks that are here,
We're good?
and, or that have said their words and thoughts.
Margot's not here either, but, yep, so.
Okay, my notes are not amazing, but one of the biggest things on the library, Friends of the Libraries, Friend of the Library Advisory Board, like what is there like a
The
longer?
foundation.
Friends of the
Foundation.
Friends of the Library Foundation, I need to get that right. There was a lot of talk about what they had given to the Victoria Library when it was being built, like what maybe the city was expecting from the foundation to put into that project. So Susan did some research and you did some research, and keep me honest, but they didn't give anything. They weren't required to give anything to build that building. So
To build Victoria?
correct.
Yeah, because
Yep.
it came from city funds.
Correct, but they weren't sure during that meeting. They also talked quite a bit about the number of tote bags that have been sold. Every time they order them, they get sold out, so they are looking at ordering new ones. They talked about maybe making some bookmarks. Someone brought up, and I apologize, I don't remember folks' names. Who's the president of the foundation? Dave, thank you. Dave was thinking of all these ideas of getting involved in the community, and one of them was like, hey, what if we start building little free libraries and offer them to people, like to have at their house or wherever, like out in wherever. So they talked about that. They talked about a library book sale website. Dave said that it hurts his heart at the end of all these book sales when there's all these books and they either just get like shoved into the room for another sale later, or they've been on the sale for 5 or 6 or 7 sales and they're just not, people aren't interested in them. He found a website out of Texas where they will send you a box. And they will accept those books. You can just like as a donation, or you donate them and then you get some kind of tax write-off. So I was like, well, that's kind of cool.
That's
So
really nice.
yeah, so he was like, I really want to try that. So I'll talk to him more about it. Dave wants to start thinking ahead with income. I'll take better notes. Sorry.
I think it's always good to think ahead with income.
Yeah, I introduced all of us. I told them what we were doing. I gave them an update on Jody and Orrin going to the library day at the Capitol. I mentioned that you were the new president, but
Oh, you are.
I'll make that update later. Yeah, it was a good meeting. I learned about their roles. Jackie pays the bills and Nadia is appointed to oversee Jackie. Jackie is not on the foundation. She's someone that she volunteers.
She's a bookkeeper that
She's a
they
bookkeeper.
actually.
Oh, they pay her.
Pay-
Okay,
yep. Mhm.
excellent.
How often do
So,
they
yeah.
meet again? Like every 2 months, is it? Or
Quarterly.
also once every quarter?
Yeah, quarterly. So, does anybody have any questions?
I was just gonna say that Chaska Friends had a sale last week,
Oh, okay.
and all the books that were left over, we're trying to clean out. We took everything to, I'm trying to think the one in,
Like a used book, half-price books or something?
Good
no,
deal.
it was.
Oh, okay.
It was the charitable, well, actually, it's not a charity, but.
Oh, Goodwill.
Goodwill.
Good, yeah, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
And when I say pickup and cars,
Mhm.
trunks, I mean, we got rid of,
Right,
A lot
that's
of
the
those.
thing, you know? So it was interesting that Dave found this company where they'll send you a box and a label, and he said the box is, this size, so it doesn't get too heavy, and you just send it to them and away it goes. I'm not
Was
sure
it
what
Better
they do
World,
with it.
Better World Books?
It was, I wrote library book sale website out of Texas.
Okay, well, there we go.
Just have to Google it.
We'll Google it, yeah.
Yeah, you
I
can-
apologize.
I mean, that's
We should
Googleable.
send
That
our
is
librarians
Googleable.
there to do a road trip.
Yeah, like go check it out.
That's where my son lives. I am all
Do you have
over.
an RV?
Where in Texas is it?
Wow.
Yeah, Texas.
You know, it's a big state. Let's
I'm
go to
there,
Boston,
I'm
that's
there
where my son lives.
Thursday. I'm going to be there Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday
Why?
Where at?
What do you mean?
in Texas.
I know,
Oh,
but where, it's
okay.
a big state.
Oh,
I'll be
'cause
in
it's-
Dallas, and
Oh,
then
Dallas.
I'm visiting a friend's graduation in Baylor.
Yeah, and it's
Oh,
like,
Baylor,
And I'm
okay.
going to go to Austin to see old friends.
Oh, good, that's where my son lives.
and it's triple digit temperatures in Texas.
Yeah.
It's like in the
It's 80
hundreds.
something actually. Today is 104, but
Oh my
it's going to
gosh.
drop back to 86.
No, thank you.
I do know that there are places locally that do stuff similar, because in Patrick's images, there's the page about Earth Day displays, and actually the For the Greener Good event that we had at Minnetonka, which I was actually a leader in organizing. We had like 10 different organizations come, people would drop off and donate stuff, and one of the things that we got were books, and so we got piles and piles of books. It took like 5 cars to bring them to their location.
Wow.
My car was filled with puzzles, so so like there's other things locally that might be easier
Yeah,
too.
I know my son collected books for donation somewhere.
Yeah,
In
I
senior
can
year.
find that name, but
That'd be
you know,
awesome.
other stuff
Yeah.
like that.
This is a little bit off the record. Do you have a parent who works at Wells Fargo?
I do not.
Okay, because I went to work about 2 weeks ago and I parked next to a Subaru that was packed with puzzles. So I was like, oh, maybe.
So they're like,
Yeah,
it was the
I
puzzle.
was just like,
It was
that
the
is
puzzle.
wild. What are they
Can
doing
I
with
have
all
one?
these puzzles? Yeah, I just was like, wow. Okay, anyway,
That's a hoarder right there.
it was a lot of
That
puzzles.
is, that
It
is,
was-
yes, yes.
I don't think they could have fit one more in there.
All right, well, let's end this party at 5:55. Motion to adjourn,
Motion?
second?
Second.
All right.
Thank you for your service to our residents.
Thank you,
And
yes.
so when are you
Good luck in
got
your new endeavor.